In the summer of 1953, the government of Iran was overthrown in a coup d'etat orchestrated by the intelligence agencies of the United States and Great Britain. It was a covert operation that would reshape the Middle East for decades to come. To understand why, we must begin with oil. For decades, Iran's vast oil reserves had been controlled by a British corporation, the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, the forerunner of today's BP. The British had built a system of alliance with Iran's ruling elite. The arrangement became a growing source of resentment over Iran's control of its own oil wealth. This all changed on March 15, 1951, when the Iranian parliament voted to nationalize the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. The architect of this bold move was the country's new prime minister, Dr. Mohammad Mossadegh, a frail septuagenarian statesman. Mossadegh was known for his eccentricities, sometimes appearing in public wearing pajamas, but he was a man of remarkable principle and popular support. He represented a powerful wave of Iranian nationalism, a desire for true sovereignty and economic independence. In his view, Iran's oil belonged to Iran, and no foreign power had the right to control it. It is important to note, however, that Mossadegh was not directly elected by popular vote. Under Iran's parliamentary system, he was chosen as prime minister by the parliament, a distinction that is often overlooked in simplified accounts. Britain reacted with fury, viewing Mossadegh's nationalization as an existential threat to its strategic and economic interests. The British imposed crippling sanctions and blockaded Iran's oil exports, aiming to starve Mossadegh's government into submission. But when that failed, their thoughts turned to more drastic measures. By the time Dwight D. Eisenhower became president in early 1953, the United States had become a willing co-conspirator. Although President Truman had resisted British pressure to intervene, the Eisenhower administration saw Mossadegh as a threat. The primary concern was geopolitical. The fear that Mossadegh's policies, combined with Iran's strategic location and oil wealth, might push the country into the orbit of the Soviet Union. Cold War security considerations, rather than simply commercial interest, were central to American decision-making. The CIA's own historical account of the operation emphasizes these security concerns as the driving factor. A joint CIA-MI6 operation was set in motion. Its code name was Ajax, or Operation Ajax. The operation was designed to remove Mossadegh and install a government supported by the Shah. The man chosen to lead this covert mission on the ground was Kermit Roosevelt Jr., a senior CIA officer and the grandson of former U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt. The plan was ambitious and ruthless. It involved a multi-pronged campaign designed to destabilize the country and create conditions for Mossadegh's removal. First came a propaganda war. The operation relied on covert funding, political contacts, propaganda, and influential networks to turn public opinion against Mossadegh. They spread false stories and planted articles in newspapers, accusing Mossadegh of being a communist sympathizer. Second, they manufactured chaos. The operation also relied on paid street organizers and political networks to mobilize pro-Shah demonstrations and create pressure in the streets. Some sources have also claimed that CIA agents posed as communists and bombed mosques to inflame religious sentiment against the government. Though this particular allegation remains contested and should not be presented as an established historical fact, the weak link in the plan was the Shah himself. Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was a monarch who lacked the courage of his convictions. American diplomats described him as a weak reed, and he was deeply reluctant to sign the decrees dismissing Mossadegh. It took immense pressure from the CIA and a clear signal from President Eisenhower, who publicly declared America would not stand idly by to force the Shah's hand. On August 15, 1953, the first coup attempt was launched. The Shah's Imperial Guard stormed Mossadegh's residence to arrest him, but they were captured by troops loyal to the Prime Minister. The plan had failed. The Shah fled the country, first to Baghdad, then to Italy, believing his dynasty was over. For the American and British intelligence officers in Tehran, this was a moment of panic. The CIA station chief sent a cable to Washington. Action has failed. Recommend terminating covert operations. But Kermit Roosevelt was not ready to give up. Over the next 4 days, he and his team went back to work. Rather than relying on the military alone, they took a more direct approach. Roosevelt and his team used money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, to bribe a new network of street thugs and key military commanders. They orchestrated a vast wave of anti-Mossadegh propaganda and street violence. After the first attempt collapsed, Mossadegh believed the immediate threat had been defeated. But the political crisis was far from over. Historians continue to debate the precise balance between CIA-directed activity and genuine Iranian opposition. What is clear is that the CIA had built political and street-level networks inside Iran, and those networks played an important role in the events that followed. The crowds that filled Tehran's streets were not simply CIA agents on payroll. The reality is more complex. The CIA used money, propaganda, and political networks to create an atmosphere of instability, but the people on the streets were a mix of paid thugs, genuine anti-Mossadegh activists, and those manipulated by the propaganda campaign. On August 19, 1953, the second coup attempt succeeded. A massive crowd, partly funded and organized through CIA-backed networks, marched through the streets of Tehran, demanding the return of the Shah. Military units, now under the control of pro-coup officers, joined the fray. They attacked government buildings and loyalist military positions. The old prime minister's regime crumbled. Mossadegh was overthrown, arrested, and put on trial. He spent the rest of his life under house arrest. The Shah returned to Iran in triumph, now firmly in debt to his American and British sponsors. After the coup, the Shah steadily consolidated his power, and Iran moved toward increasingly authoritarian rule. He ruled Iran for the next 26 years with an iron fist. His secret police, the Savak, which was established in 1957 and received training and support from American and Israeli intelligence agencies, brutally suppressed all dissent, and his regime became infamous for its corruption and extravagance. In 1979, the legacy of this coup came into sharp focus. While it would be an oversimplification to say the 1953 coup directly caused the 1979 revolution, it certainly became a pivotal historical grievance for the Iranian people. Against the Shah and Western intervention, the Shah was overthrown, and an Islamic Republic was established, one that was deeply and permanently hostile to the United States. The 1953 coup is not just a historical footnote, it is a foundational trauma. For many Iranians, it came to symbolize the moment when foreign intervention helped overturn their parliamentary government and reshape Iran's political future. It remains a cautionary tale about the terrible, long-lasting consequences of foreign intervention.